So let's talk about the environment. Or I mean, people are very worried that we are exhausting the planet with all our pollution, and the environment is in a very dire state, and we have to cut back on all kinds of pollution that we have been poisoning the earth with. This is our biggest threat. If you're watching the politics today, everything evolves around this kind of. We have to reduce our consumption because we are exhausting the planet Earth.
There are a number of different questions here, and perhaps we can get to all of them. Look, we have to distinguish between pollution and CO2 emissions. Mm-hmm. CO2 emissions are not pollution. CO2 in the atmosphere is absolutely vital for life. If you don't have CO2 in the atmosphere, plants have nothing to eat and they are going to die, and they are not going to produce oxygen, and therefore humans are going to die. So we need CO2. The only question is, are we producing too much of it, right? Obviously, the more CO2 you have, the warmer the planet gets. And so the key is to get to a future of the world where most of our energy can be produced by, say, natural gas, or alternatively wind, solar, and most importantly, nuclear fission and nuclear fusion. So that's the CO2 component of it. Then when it comes to pollution, well, certainly the Western countries are much cleaner than what they were in the last 200 years. Our rivers are cleaner, our air is cleaner, the particulate matter in the air is much lower, and as a consequence, people also live longer. So the issue of pollution is being tackled very, very well. It only happens by accident these days that factories, for example, release poison into the rivers, etc. Other than that, these things are usually handled in other ways. So on the pollution front, I would say the Western world is doing extremely well. Now, when it comes to natural resources, then of course we have devoted an entire book, 500 pages of it, to describing the fact that actually we have more resources than we had before. As a matter of fact, the more resources we use, the more resources we have.
Yeah. Maybe you could explain that a little bit, because I think people have a hard time understanding that, because when we overpopulated Earth, using more and more resources, how can that be the case that we get more and more resources with more and more people?
If you're a rabbit or a rat, you consume all the food around you and then you die. But human beings are not like rabbits or rats. We are human beings with intelligence and forward planning. And so what we do is we can grow our resources. We expect to need more resources in the future, and therefore we grow them. We don't just slaughter a pig or a cow and we eat it. Or let me put it in an Icelandic way. It's not as though there is a sheep and we kill the sheep and then we eat the meat and there is no longer sheep. No, we breed sheep, we produce sheep, we grow sheep in the same way that we grow wheat or barley, in the same way that we grow that we can grow our supply of energy by producing more energy through windmills and hydropower, in the same way that we can grow more drinking water by basically desalinating water and making it drinkable. The point is that whenever there is something that we need more of, we can grow it, we can increase it.
And you have some examples in the book of this, of resources or materials that we thought we were going to run out of, but then we switch over to something else. And you mentioned
a perfect example of that would be something like oil. Humanity has been using oil for gasoline for 100 years, but today we have greater reserves of oil and natural gas than ever before. In other words, after 100 years of usage of these two commodities, we now have more of it that we know of. Basically, we started looking for more and we found more. Mm-hmm. But But also, if you have a problem with something that is getting too expensive, let's say lithium. 2 years ago, everybody was terribly concerned about lithium because we need lithium to create lithium-ion batteries for electric vehicles. But as a matter of fact, we don't care what our batteries are made of. We just care about having the battery. And so scientists discovered a better way of creating batteries, which is sodium-ion batteries, which can power electric vehicles. And so we can substitute sodium-ion for lithium-ion, and consequently, we can still achieve the same result, which is driving electric vehicles. We just switch from doing something to something else. In the similar vein, we used to kill whales in order to get their oil for lamps, or lamp oil. But now we use electricity. So there are many different ways in which we can not just grow resources, but we can also substitute certain resources for other resources when they become too expensive.